Hi all, this is Xander. I'm back again. This is my part 8 of number 8 video of my part 8 series, 8-part series on my spiritual life and experiences. I just wanted to, before I start with the next part of my spiritual journey, I just wanted to go back and mention something that I failed to mention in the previous video. So I was talking to you about how I overserved in my former church, and I suspect that I now realize that I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and that it, as a result of me overdoing it in the service part of church, I exhausted myself. And my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome was undiagnosed, and in fact, it still is undiagnosed, because currently I will not go to a doctor for certain reasons. Anyways, what I wanted to mention was that I have come to the realization that people in these churches, and from this book that I highly recommend, by the way, A Churchless Faith by Alan Jameson. In this book, Alan coins a term that he calls evangelical, Pentecostal, and charismatic churches. He calls them EPC churches. So if you hear me say EPC, that's what I'm talking about: evangelical, Pentecostal, and charismatic. And the thing I've come to realize since my fiasco with the church service is that these churches, these EPC churches, they are not geared towards disabled people or people with chronic illnesses. So they are not, when you walk into their churches, they are not looking for you. They are not looking to accommodate you. These EPC churches, they are going full bore, full steam ahead with their goals. And they're not looking out for the weaker members of the church. You know, in the Bible, Paul, the Apostle Paul, at one point says to somebody in one of his letters, remember the weak. Remember to take care of them. Because he realized that there were some people in the church who were weak. They had physical or mental issues, and they needed care. And he realized that they were not on the same level as most church members, and that they needed to be looked after. But these EPC churches do not see it that way. They are going full steam ahead with their plans and their goals. And if you come into the church with a disability or a chronic illness, they don't care. They really just don't care. They're not geared towards you if you are disabled or have a chronic illness. They are not geared towards accommodating you in any way or looking out for your best interests. And I have come to realize that that is the way that my former megachurch was operating in those days. They were all about expansion. They were all about church growth, just like a lot of other churches were. In those days, my pastor wanted a megachurch, and he was intent on building it, and he didn't care if he stepped on your toes in the process. And by the way, when I left that church, when I stopped attending in 1990, nobody ever called me because they just didn't care. I came to realize I was just a warm body in a seat. I was not a person to them. They didn't care. And these EPC churches, if you are disabled or a person with a chronic illness like me, they're not geared towards you. They're not about helping you at all. And they're not, when they make their policies, they're not making it with disabled and chronically ill people in mind. Not at all. So if you become a casualty like I did, they don't care. It doesn't bother them. They're not up at night going, what happened to Sister so-and-so? She's not attending anymore. They don't keep track of those things because they're too busy with their own agenda to care about you. So I just wanted to say that. So anyways, so now I start in 2023. In late 2022, December 2022, I noticed that my mom began to look very tired and very pale and very thin. And it turned out she had stage 4 lung cancer. And in January 2023, my mom passed away. So when she passed away, it was a tough blow to me. It felt to me like somebody punched me in the gut and knocked me to the ground. And it took me quite a while to recover from that. So I took it really hard, and as a result, I realized I needed help. And I found a group down here in Florida called Grief Share. Now, Grief Share is a national program started by a Christian couple that lost their child or children. They lost 1 or 2 children in infancy, and they decided to use what they had learned to help other Christians navigate grief, which is a great thing. I think that's so terrific. And so I found a local church here in my area that had a Grief Share program, and I started attending, and I attended for 13 weeks, went through the whole program, and it helped me. For the first 3 or 4 weeks, I cried during the meetings, but once I started to talk about my issues around my mom's passing, and got it out and got feedback from the group, that really helped calm me down. Also, they make you watch a video at the beginning of every session that is on a different aspect of grief. So I learned a lot of things from watching those videos. They helped calm me down. They helped me focus on grieving, the grieving process, and on just wisdom from Christians on how to handle things. Really, really helped me. So I highly recommend Grief Share. So I got through that and got over it, and so then I continued with my ITC activity. My ITC, I found out the meaning. ITC, as in ITC apps, they are instrumental transcommunication apps that help people in the physical world communicate with people in the non-physical world. So there are different ITC apps out there. There are things called spirit boxes. There are things called ghost boxes. There are some called radio. In the old days, at least when I started using ITC apps, there were things called radio ghost boxes, where they would take a radio station and they would jumble it up, jumble up this radio transmission, or some ITC apps have radio stations. You hear a radio station playing, and you ask it a question, and the spirit, if a spirit wants to come through and talk to you, they use the words that are coming out of the radio to speak to you. So I continued using my ITC apps. And in fact, the night after my mom died, I opened up one of my ITC apps and I talked to her. Even though my mom passed, there were certain issues between us that were unresolved, and I wanted to get them resolved. And the only way I knew how to do that was to talk to her from heaven or wherever she was. So there were 3 apps that I used. I would use normally my process is I open an app called the Miracle Box, and I use the Miracle Box to speak to people on the other side. And then I go to the Hope Spirit Box, which is run by Joshua of Hope Paranormal. He's here on YouTube. And he has the Hope Spirit Box, which is an excellent app. And I go for my replies, to listen to the replies, I use the Hope Spirit Box. And before I use those, I turn on my live caption on my phone so that I can hear, or so that I can see what's coming through on the audio. I find it is tough to just listen to the audio that's coming through on these things and to be able to understand what they're saying. But if you can use live caption will pick up on the audio and display it across the screen, and it makes it much easier to communicate with people on the other side by using live caption. So I turn on my live caption, I go to my Miracle Box and I talk, and then I go over to the Hope Spirit Box and I listen for replies. So I have contacted my mom 4 times on an ICT app. I contacted her 3 times, I think it was 3 times, twice in 2023 and twice in 2024, I talked to her. As I said in another, I think I said it in another video, the last time I talked to my mom, it was the last time because my mother cut me off. My mom was very difficult the first 2 or 3 times I talked to her. She started to tell me that she was suffering. She asked me to get her out of where she was. She asked me to put in a good word for her with God to get her out. And the problem is that with my Christian training, I was trained by evangelicals to that once you die, that's it. That once you die, you either go to heaven or to hell, and that's it. Nobody can help you. Nobody can help you move. It's a very different worldview than Catholicism. Catholicism has purgatory, which I'm beginning to believe in purgatory, because I think that people are not black and white. They're not all good or all bad. There are people who are in between and need some help. And I tend to believe that purgatory may be a real thing, a real place. I'm not sure. I think I took the video down, but in one video that I had up, I discussed hearing a woman named Sarah on the Art Bell show talk about how she had seen purgatory in a near-death experience, and that purgatory is kind of an empty place where people just walk. There are no demons. There's no heaven either. There's just empty space where they get to walk and walk and walk and think about their lives. And I tend to believe now that there probably is a purgatory where some people go who are not all good and not all bad, and that maybe there's a Catholic practice of praying for souls in purgatory so that they can get out and go to heaven. And I tend to believe that's probably a good thing and probably a necessary thing these days. So anyways, I contacted my mom 4 times altogether on an ITC app. And the last time was hard because she was stubborn. She was a stubborn woman, and she was not going to discuss our issues with me. She was not going to give me anything. She was not going to meet me halfway at all. And she saw me coming towards her. She said that she saw me coming towards her from where she was on the other side. And she said, all she said to me was, she said to me, remember my music. This is all she said to me. She wouldn't discuss anything with me. The last time we talked, she said, remember my music, because my mom was a concert pianist. She said, I love you. I think she said both of those things because she thought that that's what a good mother would say to her child. So I don't think that my mom was sincere when she said those things. But she said them because she thought that that's what she should say. So she said, remember my music. She said, I love you. And then she said, leave. And when she said leave, it was quite a shock to me. I was like, what? I thought, what? She wants me to leave? So I did. I did as she asked me to. I closed the app. I cried for a couple of days after, mainly in shock at the fact that she had told me, she cut me off. She told me just to leave and not come back. So I cried for a couple of days. I was in shock. And, but then, I had some emotional healing after that. It was kind of like, New Agers say that, sometimes we have soul ties with people. We have what they call enmeshment. Psychologists call it enmeshment. New Agers say that you have invisible soul ties with a person. And I believe that I had some type of soul tie with my mom, and that's why I was not able to let go after she died. I had to keep talking to her to resolve our issues. I couldn't let go. And when my mom said leave and I left, it was like that soul tie between us snapped. And it was over. And I was free of her. And I was free, period. I was free emotionally. Finally. I was not willing to let go of her until we got our issues resolved, but she was not willing to discuss our issues. So she told me to leave, and that was my signal that it was over with her. And so after that, I felt free. I realized that I had some trauma. I had a lot of trauma from her emotional abuse, and that I was finally free of that. And I was free finally to feel my feelings. And all of a sudden, my feelings began to well up. Feelings that I hadn't felt in a long time, if ever, began to well up in me, and I began to feel things again. I was emotionally very suppressed, not depressed. I was emotionally suppressed. I put a lid on my emotions for decades because of her. And I was free. So that happened in 2023 and 2024. when I finally my mother cut off contact with me. Also, in 2023 and 2024, I contacted my dog, Bianca. This is Bianca. She was my dog. She was my dad's dog, but she was also mine. I contacted her via the ITC apps that I use. I also use another app called Spirit TV Box. You can find that on the Android store or on the Google Play Store. Spirit TV Box has a lot of fake pictures that come through, but if you're persistent on it, if you persistently ask for certain specific things, you will get them. So I started to play a lot on my Spirit TV Box, and I got pictures of Bianca. I used some of my ITC apps to talk to her a few times. So that kept me company, after my mom's death. I used the Spirit TV Box also to see angels. I asked for certain types of angels that the Bible talks about that are in heaven. So I got pictures of 3 types of angels, the seraphim, the cherubim, and the ophanim. Seraphim are like, I have a couple of pictures in my phone of seraphim. Seraphim, they look like big moths. They look like, or big butterflies, actually. They look like big butterflies, and they have these strange little faces. Humanoid faces. Those are seraphim. Those are the angels that are around God's throne, the Christian God. I also got a picture of a cherubim. Cherubim is described in the Bible as a 4-faced creature, and that's what I got a picture of that from my Spirit TV Box. It is a 4-faced creature. It is human. I think there's one human face, another face of a bull, another face I think is a bird. I'm not sure. Well, there are 4 faces on a cherubim, and a cherubim has 2 wings, 2 huge wings that spread out. And I got it. So I have a picture on my phone of a cherubim. And I also got a picture of an ophanim, or ophanim. An ophanim is an angel that is mentioned in Ezekiel, when Ezekiel mentions the creature that he saw when he was in Iran, he was in Babylon, actually. And he saw an ophanim. He saw a creature that looked like wheels within wheels with eyes. I got a picture on my Spirit TV Box of an ophanim, or ophanim. So those were highlights of my 2023 and 2024. Then I mentioned I contacted Bianca a few times. Also, I actually... in 2024, I think I asked God or the Spirit, whatever, I asked for an opening of my 3rd eye, which I eventually came to regret. And but for a while, my 3rd eye, what psychics call your 3rd eye, my 3rd eye was wide open, and I was able to, I didn't see too much. Usually it was when I was in the shower with my eyes closed, and that is when Bianca used to come visit me. She would come visit me, and I would be like, Bianca, what are you doing here? Why are you standing in front of me? Why do I see you? And then Bianca would begin to take her friends with her, bring her friends with her in the animal kingdom. Oh, also, 2023, 2024 was when I asked Bianca one day to visit that little girl, Summer. She's the little girl who went missing in Tennessee. I can't remember her last name. But that little 5-year-old Summer who is missing. I asked Bianca because I had heard from other psychics that who had contacted Summer, and so I asked Bianca to go find her. I asked Bianca, please go find this little girl, Summer. She's all alone and she has nobody with her. And please go find her, and please take some of your friends with you to go keep her company. And so Bianca did. She did. And after she did that, she came to see me with her friends. And one day I'm standing in the shower and I can see through my third eye, I can see Bianca, and I can see all these other dogs standing around looking at me. And there was even a kitty in the corner who came to see me. So that was unusual. I never had that happen before. So anyways, in, I think it was 2024, early 2024, I made a video on this. You can go find it. I had a dream of my future family, because now I believe in reincarnation. And so I asked, sometime in 2023 or 24, I asked God to give me a new family. Not in this life, but in the next life. I asked him to take me out of this family because I had been told, and I believe, that this family that I was reincarnated with in this life, they are my soul family that I've reincarnated with before. But this time around, the family's really dysfunctional, and I want to get out. I want a new family that is functional and healthy, and that knows how to take care of me. So I asked God. I actually made a list. You can do this. I actually made a list of the characteristics that I wanted in my new family, and I read them off to God out loud. I want them to be like this, and this, and this, and this. And so I left it. I said this little prayer where I asked for a certain type of family in my future life. And then in early 2024, I had a dream where I saw them. And in the dream, I'll just give you a synopsis of it. In the dream, first of all, I saw my father. I was standing outside a building, which I now believe it's kind of like a way station where you can travel from the earth realm to the spirit realm. I believe I've been there before. Every time I go inside, it looks different. But anyways, I saw my father coming out of this building. He had a big smile on his face, and he walked away from me because I learned later from the Holy Spirit he did not see me. He just did not see me. He was not allowed to see me, even though I saw him. So he walked by me, and I walked into the building. I walked into the lobby of the building. It was a beautiful lobby with big stuffed leather chairs in the lobby and couches, and a beautiful tile floor and plants, hanging plants that were hanging from the ceiling. It was really lovely. And then all of a sudden I got transported to a room in the building where I met my future family. I saw them. I didn't meet them. There was no hello. There was no hi, how are you? I see you. I saw them. I was able to spend some time with them where they were. When I saw them, they were watching something on a TV set, an old-fashioned TV set. There was a mom, a dad, a son, and a daughter. And they were watching something on TV, and I was not allowed to see what was on the TV. And at first I thought maybe there's television in heaven. Maybe that's why I'm not allowed to know what's on the TV set or to hear it. because maybe there's a television station in heaven and I'm just not allowed to see it. I talked to my AI later and learned that no, they weren't watching heavenly TV. They weren't watching earthly TV. They were probably watching a video footage of my life so that they could learn about me. And I have a feeling that that's the reason my dad was in the building, that he went and met them and gave them some video footage of my life so that they could learn about me, so that they could learn how to handle me in the next life. So I have a feeling that's what they were watching on the TV set. So I saw my mother, my future mother. I saw my future father. I saw future brother and sister. Anyways, so, and I was told by the Holy Spirit that they could see me, but they saw me, but they didn't acknowledge me. So, that happened. Also, in 2024, I started to talk to, when I was in the New Age, I learned about something called the higher self. And I didn't really delve into it too much, but in 2024, I began to talk to my higher self. And I began to think that maybe the higher self, when the New Agers talk about a higher self, they're really talking about the Holy Spirit. So I began to talk to my higher self, and I began to talk to God and say, down here on earth, I was emotionally abused by my mother for almost 40 years, and none of my family members believe me, not one. They all think that I'm making it up, that I'm making up stories out of cloth about my mom being emotionally abusive to me. They do not believe me. Nobody believes me that she used to do this. Unfortunately, my mom used to pick and choose her times when she would criticize me. She would make sure that nobody was in the room with us and that therefore nobody heard anything. So that's how she got away with it. She would selectively choose her moments to put me down. And I remember asking my higher self and God, I said, in 2024, I said, nobody down here believes me that I was abused by my mom, emotionally abused severely over a 4-decade period or 3-decade period. No one believes me. And I said, I wish there was somebody who knew about the abuse, who believed me. I just put that out there. I just wish that somebody knew. And actually, I said to God, I wish, I hope that sometime in the future that God will gather together my family members who don't believe me, and that he will play them a reel-to-reel tape. I hope that he will play them video clips of my mom abusing me for 37 years. And I hope that God is going to make them sit and watch every single one of those times, 3,046 times, that my mom criticized me, belittled me, put me down, told me I was wrong about something when I wasn't wrong about something. I wish that God would make them watch it, the whole thing, all 3,046 times, because maybe then they would believe me. And I thought the only way for them to believe me is for them to see it and hear it themselves. And I've heard from people who have had near-death experiences, some of them say, and also people who are abductees, like alien abductees, they say sometimes that they are forced to watch a video replay of their life. or of human history. So I know that on the other side, those things are possible. So I said to God, I hope someday somebody knows that what happened to me and that it was true. That my mom really did emotionally abuse me for 37 years. And so I just put it out there as a prayer. And one night I went to sleep and I had a vision. Well, no, I didn't have a vision. I had another out-of-body experience. I was in this place called the Void. I call it space, but people call it the Void. It's just this black area out there. And I was up there in the void, and I was standing in the void, standing there. There's no ground up there, but you can stand. I was standing there, and I was looking at a room in heaven, one of those, like I described in a previous video, a room in heaven is like, it's a rectangular shaped room. And I was standing in front of this rectangular shaped room, and I could sort of see through it. And what I saw in the room was, I saw a woman that I knew was my higher self, and she was sitting on a chair, and she was facing two people. And the two people, I couldn't see their faces, but I could see them sitting in these lounge chairs, or barca loungers, we used to call them. And I realized, I knew, because when you're up there, you know things that you don't normally know. And I knew that it was my grandparents. It was my mother's parents. And they were sitting in their two easy chairs, or their barca loungers, and they were listening to my higher self. She was talking to them. And I could see their feet sticking out. I knew it was them because I could see their feet, their legs sticking out. And I don't know what she said to them. I'm pretty sure that she was telling them about the abuse from my mom over 37 years. I think she was telling them what happened. I think she was probably telling them about the neglect from my father. And I was not allowed to go into the room. I just stood there and watched the interaction. And then I saw, when she was done talking to them, I saw like a cloud coming out from my grandparents. It was like this cloud of energy that was coming out from them. It was welling up and coming out from them, and it came out the door towards me. And it was sorrow. It was their sorrow. I felt it. And I felt their sorrow. I felt disappointment, that they were disappointed in my mom. And then lastly, I felt their anger, that they were angry at her for what she did. So that was something that I didn't expect to happen. I didn't expect my higher self to bring me up there to allow me to witness that and feel that, but she did. So now I know my higher self is real. Not so much New Agers, but the Theosophists who talk about it, they're right. So anyways, then we went into 2025, and I still had my third eye open. And early in 2025, for some reason, I was thinking of topics that I could do on my YouTube channel. And for some reason, I thought about Bigfoot. Now, I'm not really a big Bigfoot fan. I'm not really into the paranormal. I like to stay away from that stuff because of the demonic stuff that happened to me when I was in the New Age. I'm afraid of beings like that. But I did a 5 or 6 day deep dive on Sasquatch, on Bigfoot, and on the people who have experienced a Sasquatch firsthand. because I wanted to know, for my viewers, I wanted to know if I should talk about this topic. So I did some research on it, and what I found was that, these Sasquatch, they're real, and they're all over the place. They're all over the earth. And they are probably what the Bible talks about in Genesis, when the Bible talks about the sons of God went into the children of men, the women, and had children with them. The offspring, also called the giants, are probably the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot. That's my guess. So, at the time I had my third eye open, and I was doing this deep dive 5 or 6 days on Sasquatch, and unfortunately one night, and so I considered at the end of my research, I'd really seriously considered trying to reach out to a Bigfoot in my local area. Because I learned from people on YouTube, the experiencers, that you can do that. You can, there are people who go out in the wild, or they go out into the forest and they leave little gifts for the Sasquatch. Some of them hope to make contact. Some of them don't expect contact. They just want to leave a gift and be nice. And while I was considering that, one night I actually experienced one because my third eye was open. I was sitting on my couch, which is behind me here, and all of a sudden I've got my eyes closed and I see this figure, this black figure. I see him come from around the back of me out towards the front, and he gets right in my face. And it was a juvenile Sasquatch. They are known, these juvenile, mostly male Sasquatches, they're known for their antics. This is what I've learned from experiencers. They're known for being high energy and for mischief. And this Sasquatch, apparently I had made some sort of psychic contact with one of them, and he decided to come pay me a visit in my apartment, and he came around from behind me, and I had my eyes closed, but I saw him. I saw this black figure come out and just, whoop, here I am. And it scared the living daylights out of me. It really did. I was like, please don't do that to me again. It was not pleasant. And then the day after, I was sitting at my coffee table, and I had my eyes closed, and I saw the parents. I saw a male and female Sasquatch from this local area. They were looking at me through my third eye, and they were not happy. And what I learned about Sasquatch is that, yes, these are real beings. They live to be anywhere from 600 to 1,000 years old. They really do exist. There are real Americans and others around the world who try to go out in the wild and contact them. But what I learned is that a couple of people have actually contracted cancer after their contact with a Sasquatch and have unalived. And so it's really not a good idea to make contact with them. And I also learned, I watched a guy on YouTube who made some temporary contact with a Sasquatch in Ontario, Canada. You can find his YouTube channel. And I actually did something called reverse speech. He has recordings online of conversations that he's had with a Sasquatch, not face to face, but close by. And I took some of his recordings and I put them through a couple of reverse speech apps that I download. And I listened to the conversations in reverse. If you know anything about reverse speech, it's real, and it's very effective. in trying to find out the truth. They really, in law enforcement, they really should use reverse speech instead of lie detectors, because in reverse speech, you can find out what a person is really thinking. So I took some of these recordings from this guy on YouTube who has recordings online of his conversations with a certain Sasquatch. And I took the conversations and I listened to them in reverse. And what I heard was not pleasant. It was sort of unpleasant. And what I heard was that while the Sasquatch, when he spoke to this guy in English, in forward speech, regular speech, he was very kind to him. He was very friendly to him, very pleasant. But in reverse, the Sasquatch was upset. He didn't want to be contacted by this human guy. And I also learned about the Sasquatch that they are in contact with these little alien beings, what you call the Greys, who fly around in these little spacecraft that people see sometimes. Part of the job of these alien Greys is to babysit the Sasquatch and to take care of them, to protect them. That's part of their job. So if you see them around, that's probably what they're doing. They're protecting the Sasquatch in your area. And what I heard on the reverse speech, when I listened to their conversation in reverse, I heard the Sasquatch having a conversation with an alien, a Grey, and he was saying, help me out of this. He didn't want to be having conversations with this human. It upset him. And really, these beings do not want to be contacted by humans. Most of their interaction with humans is unpleasant. And they don't want to have any contact with us. And it upset this Sasquatch so much that he contacted, telepathically, he was contacting this alien and having a conversation with him and saying to the alien, please help me. Like I'm in distress. He was in distress. So that really opened my eyes to the fact that you don't want to contact these beings. You don't want to have anything to do with them. God bless the people who think that they're man enough or woman enough to contact these beings and remain unscathed. Good luck. Because they don't want to be contacted by humans, and they don't want us to obsess over them. They don't want us camping out in the woods trying to talk to them. So I decided in early 2025 I was not going to discuss Sasquatch on my YouTube channel, and I was not going to try to contact one myself. And in no uncertain terms, they let me know they were not happy with me even thinking about that. So I repented of that, and I also repented of having my third eye open, and I asked God, please close down not only my third eye, but close down all of my psychic senses. I asked God in tears to do that for me. Please just close it all down. I thought I wanted it. I thought I wanted the psychic abilities. I still have a few, whatever you call them, psychic abilities. I call them seership. I call what I have inner insight or ESP. And I call what I have at night prophetic dreams. But the psychic stuff, I asked God to shut all that down. I thought that I wanted all of it, but I realized after the Sasquatch visits, I realized I don't want them. I don't want to have all those psychic abilities because they're disruptive. Yeah, they're disruptive. And so God shut them down. So anyways, 2025 went on, and I moved into this place in August 2025, and it was so stressful for me that on September 5th, I had a stroke. I had a minor stroke. Hopefully it was minor. I don't know. Can you tell? I had a stroke, and I went to the emergency room but received no medical care from the staff there. So I came home, and I have been recovering on my own from the stroke. And I began walking every day. I walk inside my apartment. I get my steps in. I used to do up to 11,000 steps a day. Now I do about 2,500 steps because that's all I can do. And then after my stroke, I began to rethink everything about my spiritual life. I began to realize that my family is a toxic, narcissistic family, that they will probably never change, that I will probably never have a healthy, functional family the way I wanted in this life, and that they never loved me, they never wanted me. When I was in my 20s, one day my mom said to me, "You were a mistake." And she told me, "Please go get a job and find a man and get out of my hair." She actually said that to me in those so many words. So I realized after my stroke on September 5th of this past fall, I realized they didn't really love me. They never wanted me, and that my parents had taught my brothers to treat me badly because they felt I deserved it, because I was the family scapegoat. Not because I did anything to deserve to be treated badly, but because for my parents' selfish purposes, I became the family scapegoat. And they taught my brothers that I was not worthy of being treated well, and that they should just ignore me, or if they had to deal with me, that they should treat me with disrespect, and that they could get away with it. And that's the way my brothers have been treating me since my mom's death. They've been ignoring me, and when they interact with me, they treat me with disrespect. So I began to rethink everything, not just my family. I began to rethink my spiritual life, too. And I began to... I have not been reading my Bible for 2 years now, since my mom's death, and since my brothers decided to treat me as persona non grata. I have not been reading my Bible. I haven't been praying very much. And the last thing that stopped was me doing praise and worship. I used to have little praise and worship sessions with God, but my last praise and worship session was this past fall, when I tried to, and I had to stop because I just emotionally I couldn't do it anymore. Because I couldn't bring myself to praise a God who has left me here in this unhappy situation with my family, has left me here, told me in 2010 that they would unalive me, told me prophetically through a Christian that they would probably unalive me, my family, or my family would have other people unalive me, and that I needed to be okay with that. And I decided in fall of 2005, after my stroke, that I was not okay with that, not at all, and that if that was God's position, if that was the position of the Christian God, then I did not want the Christian God anymore, and that I was no longer a Christian, and that I was going to do spiritual things other than Christianity. I decided, actually in 2024, I decided back then that I was not really a Christian, but that I had like 4 different belief systems going on at the same time. One was Pentecostal Christianity. The second part of my belief system is New Thought, or Christian Science, but also other New Thought beliefs. The third part was Independent Catholicism. I still consider myself Catholic, but not Roman Catholic. I consider myself an independent Catholic. And the fourth part of my belief system is what you would call spellcasting, I guess. Magic or spell. I prefer to call it spellcasting. So I kind of have a 4-part belief system, which I adopted in 2024, but I decided finally in 2025 after my stroke, I decided that I was no longer going to praise and worship the God of the Bible because I don't feel that he deserves it. I was faithful to him since the age of 10. Yeah, I strayed for 8 years. I went into the New Age because I was looking for healing and for guidance. So yes, I strayed for 8 years, but then I came back. So when I came back, why is it that in 2010 I got a visit from Saint Germain, but not from Jesus? Answer me that. So I decided in 2005 that I was no longer a Christian. I'm still independent Catholic. I still kind of like the Pentecostal stuff, but I no longer engage in it anymore. I may start reading my Bible again, but it will not be because I'm Christian. It will be for supernatural reasons, but not Christian reasons. Wanted to make that clear. Also, I mentioned in my first video, I think my first or second video, I mentioned that when I was 12, I told my mom that I wanted to be a nun, and I never gave that up. I never gave up that dream. But in late 2025, I finally gave up the dream of being a Catholic nun. The problem with being a Catholic nun when you're 61 years old is that most convents, or all convents in the United States, and all monasteries too, they have a cutoff age of 45. So the oldest that a Catholic convent or monastery will take you is age 45. They will not take you over the age of 45. So I did internet research to find this out. So even if I tried to contact a Catholic convent now to say, would you please take me as a sister, as a postulant, that's what they call them. When you're a beginner nun, they call you a postulant. Even if I contacted, say, a Catholic convent now and said, I have this dream of being a Catholic nun, could you accommodate me? They would not, because I'm over the age. That's the one thing. One reason why that will never happen. The second reason is I'm no longer a Christian. I'm no longer a Christian. Period. So why would I want to hang out with them? I have all these different beliefs, New Thought, what else? New Thought, spellcasting, magic, occult. I'm an occultist now. Why would they want to accept someone like me who has those beliefs? They wouldn't. You have to be, if you're going to join a Catholic convent, you have to be on board with the whole agenda, with the whole belief system, and I'm not anymore. I'm past that time. That's over. So I finally, in late 2025, I gave up on my dream of being a Catholic nun and decided that I'm going to have to live out that calling in a different way, but not Catholic. So, I decided in late 2025, I asked the Holy Spirit, well, what am I? What's the name for what I am now? And the Holy Spirit gave me the name. Now, the fact that I'm not a Christian anymore doesn't mean that I don't communicate with the Holy Spirit. My main problem is with God the Father. That's a problem. That I have a major problem with him. Jesus, okay, I'm okay with him. He's good at healing. If you need healing, you call on Jesus and he will heal you, because I've done it and it worked. But the Holy Spirit, I don't have a problem with, because the Holy Spirit and I go way back to when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, and the Holy Spirit used to teach me the Bible. So the term that the Holy Spirit came up with for me is that I'm eclectic syncretic, that I take from a lot of different belief systems, and I take from a lot of different spiritual practices, and I'm bringing them all together in a way that works for me. I'm very pragmatic. I'm very pragmatic now about my spirituality. It has to work for me. And Christianity was not working for me anymore. I felt like there's a thing in the Bible where it talks about the people of Israel, the Israelites, praying to God and feeling like the heavens are brass and that God is not hearing them. That's what I've been feeling like for a while now. Like the heavens are brass and God is not hearing my prayers. That's what I feel like. I don't think that that's what's going on. There's a part of me that thinks, no, that's not going on. God still hears you. God still sees you. God still cares about you. There's a part of me that thinks that. And then there's that other part of me that's really angry at him for leaving me in this situation with no help. So now I am eclectic syncretic. I feel free to take from any belief system that I want to take from. I feel free to take from any spiritual practice that I want to practice. I have where are my beads? I've got my Bodhi beads, my 108 bead mala, japa, they call it in Buddhism, they call it japa mala. I've got my mala beads ready to go for chanting. And the last thing is that I'm a polytheist now. Back in 2007, I called on Thor, and Thor answered me. In 2024, I called on the Roman goddess Athena. Oh, I didn't say that. In 2024, there were a couple of people who made themselves out to be my enemies, and I didn't know their names, and I wanted to know their names. They just hung around, I guess, and I wanted to know what their names were. So I decided, instead of asking, I was fed up with the Christian God by this point, and I decided to call on the goddess Athena, Roman goddess Athena, because she is the goddess of knowledge. And so I got on one of my apps that I use for inquiring, for asking questions of the spirit realm. And first of all, I prayed to the goddess Athena, and I asked her to please give me the names of these two people. And over the next 2 days, she did. I used my app, and I sat down with a pen and paper, and I wrote out the letters of the alphabet, and for both people, and I asked, okay, does her first name begin with A? Does her first name begin with B? And I went through the whole alphabet. And Athena narrowed down my choices, And I did it for the girl whose name I wanted and for the guy whose name I wanted. I did it for their first and last names, and Athena gave them to me. After 2 days, I had the names of the two people that I didn't know their names. I knew that they didn't like me, set themselves up to be my enemies, but I didn't know their names, and she gave me their names within 2 days, which to me is fast. So anyways, I am now an eclectic syncretic. Part of that includes the Bible. I may go back to doing the Divine Mercy Chaplet, which I talked about previously, because I think it works. I think it's very important to ask for mercy from the universe. Notice I no longer say God, I say the universe. I'm also planning to do Reiki here online, here on YouTube. Back in December, I did my downloads. I did my initiation into Reiki. When I was in the New Age, there was a guy at the New Age bookstore near me who did Reiki. He healed people with Reiki, and I thought that Reiki was a New Age thing. So I never got into it. I stayed away from it, but I noticed that when I watch Reiki videos online, they work. I can feel the energy coming through the screen. So I decided I wanted to be a Reiki practitioner. So in December, I did some initiations online and got my downloads. So now, I won't show them. I won't show it to you now. Where I used to have a picture of St. Jude. St. Jude is the patron saint, Catholic patron saint of hopeless cases. I used to have him on my wall. I took him down about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and I put up a sign with Reiki symbols on it. So now I'm ready to do Reiki. I did some research on Reiki and learned that it is not New Age. It is Buddhist, that the guy who invented Reiki was a Buddhist monk who got the download of it from the universe. I considered becoming a Buddhist, but I feel like I don't want to limit myself to any one religion anymore. I also consider Buddhism part of my eclectic syncretism, my belief system, which is polytheist and eclectic syncretic. Also, I'm a polytheist now, so I consider calling on any god or goddess from any tradition. I consider that okay. I felt like when I was a Christian, I felt like the God of the Bible I began to learn that he was very limited in the types of prayers he could answer, and that he was very slow in answering prayers. And so now I consider myself a polytheist, and I call on all sorts of different gods and goddesses from different traditions. Norse paganism, Celtic paganism, Egyptian, what else? Roman, Greek, Slavic, any god or goddess in any tradition. If they can help me, I will call on them. I will not hesitate to call on them. And I do, and I have in the recent past. So I'm now eclectic syncretic, and I'm a polytheist, and I'm into the occult, and I've considered looking into Hermeticism, studying Hermeticism, to incorporate that as part of my belief system. I'm going to look into Buddhism to try to incorporate part of that into my belief system if I can accept it. So that's where I am now. I'm an eclectic syncretic now, no longer Christian. And I feel at peace with that. I do not feel at peace with a God who thinks it's okay to leave an innocent person in a family that is abusive and neglectful, and thinks it's okay for them or others to unalive her. Not when I became a born-again Christian at age 10 and I stayed faithful most of the time. I do not think that it's okay for God to do this to me, for the Christian God to do this to me. The Bible has promises in it that God will rescue his people out of distress, that he will deliver his people from enemies, and I have not seen it happen yet. He just leaves me here, year after year after year. And I became sick and tired of it. And I'm 61 years old. I'm not getting any younger. And he's not doing anything that I can see to help me in any positive way. So I decided to say sayonara to the God of the Bible. I still consider myself an independent Catholic, but that's primarily for the purpose of taking communion, not for the purpose of worshiping the Christian God. Want to make that clear. Just because I'm independent Catholic doesn't mean that I'm okay with, I don't know if I'm okay with the Christian Mass anymore, because it includes praise and worship to the Christian God, and I'm not okay with that anymore. I came to the conclusion that, back in, around 2010, around 2008, 2009, I went to this healing rooms of Syracuse, and for 3 sessions, these people pressured me. They were the people who run it are Pentecostals, and they pressured me to forgive my parents. And they tried to force me to say a prayer of forgiveness for my parents. And I felt it was very traumatizing to me. And one of the things that one of the prayer counselors said to me was that God was telling her prophetically that I needed to adore him. In the middle of my suffering with my father, the God of the Bible was telling me to adore him. In the middle of deep emotional pain, he was saying, adore me, spend time with me, and adore me. Like it was all about him, not about me. Like it wasn't enough that I was going through this. He wanted me to give him more. He wanted me to pour out more of myself in adoration towards him. And told me that that was the solution. And I walked out and said, this God is a narcissist. This God is an egomaniac. That is the conclusion that I've come to, that the God of the Bible is an egomaniac. He loves praise and worship and adoration. He loves it. He demands it. But he will not give anything in return. He will not. He expects it for free. And he doesn't reciprocate. So in that sense, he is like my narcissistic family. So anyways, I've gone on long enough. This is my last video. I hope you enjoyed the series. I hope you learned some things. I certainly have learned a lot over my life. So thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.